How y'all doing? This is Fast Kellown. This is a challenge run I am doing. It is, can I beat Elden Ring with using only Prowling Wraiths? Prowling Wraiths are those gold little spirit-like things that when you go to the lake of Lucaria and those weird spirit guys that are at the lake that shake that bell, and then those gold little spirits with like a black core are chasing after you. That's what I'm talking about. Those are Prowling Wraiths. So this challenge is, can I beat the game with using those? The three main items we're going to be using is the Wraith Collin Bell, the Omen Barn, and the Regal Omen Barn. The Wraith Calling Bell, you can get that right at the beginning without worrying about anything else. The other ones, you're going to have to continue further and beat bosses to get. So, before we get started, there are three rules to this challenge. Rule 1, only damage I can actually output on my character is using Prowling Wraiths. Rule 2, I can use a Spirit Ashes against bosses and large groups of enemies that allow me to use them if I have put it in a effort at least fighting the boss 10 times and trying to beat them. Rule 3 is that if any story, mission, or story-based event happens that have a summon, I can use a summon, and with no issue, and that includes using an Ash, is if I have completed Rule 2. Now, with that said, let's get on with the video. And this is a Wraith Calling Bell. The Wraith Calling Bell uses 7 FP a cast, and it scales with intelligence and faith. And with this weapon, it takes around 2 seconds to cast a single Wraith, and you can use it multiple times in a row, which allows you to do fast casting of pumping out the Prowling Wraiths. Now, with that all said, let's get to moving on to the class and how I started my character out.
First, I started with making a character. The reason why I chose a wretch is because if you look at the wretch, is all the stats are the same. It's level 1, so you get very low first leveling up. And in this kind of build, in this challenge, is that everything banks off of faith and intelligence. There is no class that has both faith and intelligence that high, both together, and with the other stats. So just start at level 1 where everything is equal, just so you can have a nice level surface just so you can build off of, and you're able to continue, and just makes everything a little bit easier for you so you don't have any negatives.
I just got out of the tutorial area. From this point forward, I'm going to be heading behind Stormvale Castle to the lakes of Lucaria. That is where I will find the Wraith Calling Bell. The first item that I get so I can do any damage of any sort, and so I can continue forward. How I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to be hitting the few bonfires, going to the Storm Gate, and so I can grab Torrent, and after that, I will be grabbing the Wraith Calling Bell. I am now back at the first step with the Wraith Calling Bell. I'm testing it out on these bats, just to see what it does. I find out that it has really good tracking. I'm talking about best tracking with almost any spell in the game. It does fair damage. It does around the same damage as a normal starting out weapon. It uses 7 FP, which is around the same as that basic like little glintstone rock shot that you have when you're a sorcerer starting out. So I'm just running around, testing out with a few more enemies, seeing what's going on, because I've never used this weapon before. I don't know how it is, But I found out that the tracking was amazing. The damage it's fair damage. And it's able to deal with almost everything at this level. So I was testing it on that animal and it followed the animal. No issue wrapping up and down, getting that animal. And with that, there wasn't too much more. Just testing out on the turtle because everyone knows those turtle has some armor. And look, it's doing some decent damage. And now the turtle is down. So yeah, I'm going to have to like certain things that I'm going to have to actually punch and use like my hands for. But like the skull that I was trying to hit, but I ended up knocking it across the area. Now I'm testing on a few of the noble spirits here, and it's actually doing well. But with the dogs, is if you look at the casting is kind of slow. Yeah, the dog is able to smack me, toss me around, but it's a slow casting. It's able to hit the dog with not much issue, and the dragonfly, and then after that, as I was seeing is like, hey, I'm actually pretty good with this. So I decided to go around, play around a little bit more, and see what this can really do. At this point, I was actually going around looking for places to level up and get some experience from. And I decided to come over here to this cave. Yeah, the one that where you have to go to the dragon ruins and open up that chest and get transported over here. So I'm testing it on these these claymen. It's doing actually pretty decent damage. I was surprised that it would be doing such damage to them, because these guys are magic resistant. And this item, I didn't know if it was holy, lightning, occult, what kind of damage it pumps out. Yeah, I did die, just tested it out against the pests, but the pests, they're pretty dangerous, and I would not really recommend fighting these guys. They were a bit too tough, even at this level where I was at. Right here is I remembered an area that I could level up at without really doing too much. It was over here, right by the impassable bridge, where the red main soldiers are fighting against these weird, creepy, uh, Jurassic dinosaur dogs. I don't know whatever they're called, but I hate how they look. They give me nightmares. Those things are nightmare fuel. So I'm just exploring, looking at the stuff, and leveling up, gaining all the ruins I can. Now at this point, I've been watching him for quite some time, going back and forth, and now I'm participating in the fighting using the Wraiths. And looking at that, the Wraiths have ridiculous range. They can go even further than that. And they have great tracking, decent speed, especially once you get the fast casting starting. Not bad at all. And I was able to get a whole new armor set and everything. So I'm just right there farming, hitting guys just so I can level up, because having just 10 faith and 10 intelligence, you're not doing too much damage from that point. At this point, I was farming for quite some time and leveled up a little bit and decided to try taking on a Deathbird over in Limgrave. So I think the Wraiths, the Prowling Wraiths cause holy damage because it was doing fair damage to the Deathbird. And the Deathbirds, they are highly, highly weak against holy damage. Any kind of holy damage will tear them up. And I had an easy fight. This was literally the first time I was fighting this guy, and I was able to take him out that easily. And yeah, he fell. He fell pretty much once to that, where he was stumbling like that. But he was easy enough to fight. Not much of an issue at all. Around this time, is I still needed to level up. So I decide to meet Blyde over here in the Mistwood Forest. So I can talk with him and do his little story mission that where I meet up with a Bloodhound Knight so we can both take it out for Ronnie and just so I can get some experience in everything I need to do. Because one of the things I want to do with this mission is follow this along, do Ronnie's quest so I can get the Stargazer Talisman, the talisman that gives you +5 to your intelligence stat. I talk with Blyde for a little bit, hear what he has to say, and then after I hear what he says, I open up the map and go right to the jail that I need to go to, and then start the mission from that point forward. Once I get to the Evergel, I go straight there, start it up, and try to get the fight started. So I got Blyde with me so we can take out this guy because this guy is pretty darn aggressive. With how the Wraith calling bell, how slow it is shooting and everything, and since I don't have an extreme distance that I would have and would like to use, I needed someone to help me with. Because just this guy, he was relentless. Super fast, had some decent damage on him. I'm glad I had armor so I could take multiple hits from him. And then you can see how the Prowling Wraiths, how good they were. They're tracking, fair amount of damage, multiple out in the air at the same time. And then also watching Blyde. In fact, Blyde could have took this whole fight by himself. He kept running to me, at least he was smart enough to heal. But he was strong enough where he could do this all by himself. I started realizing that if I started smacking him a few times, he would just start focusing on me just so I could get away. And then I'm like, okay, I needed to have more spacing, more room, just so I didn't have to worry about getting smacked by him. Then just tried finishing him off. And then Blyde was strong enough to smack him a few times and deal with him. After this Evergel fight, I talked with him, and then I carried on from that point forward. After I helped Blyde out, I decided to try taking this guy on just so I can see how using these in PvP would work. So this is an NPC invader with Yura. And I can tell you, is it wasn't that... Yeah, they're not that useful in PvP. They're slow, it's hard, especially when somebody is more aggressive against you. It makes it very difficult to bring out and to use uh, the Wraith Calling Bell. Yura was attacking him, smacking him, and with him focusing on Yura, I'm able to give some support fire. Yeah, there was one of the great dragonflies that attacked me. I didn't know if I could kill him or not, but I just decided to focus on the invader. I wasn't doing too much damage, but just enough to take his eyes off of Yura, which I probably should have not done. Probably should have shot slower, or at least fighting when he was fighting with Yura, just so he wouldn't be focusing on me. And then after that, I just focus on killing that Dragonfly. That thing was so annoying, just smacking me randomly, and it's like, dude, what the heck? After Yura helped me with the invader, I decided to go to the cave where Patches was, take out his minions a few times, and then decide to try taking on Patches myself. So taking on Patches wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. He had a shield, but he was not a super aggressive boss, as most people think he would be. At this point, I'm just firing constantly at him with the shield. It's still doing very little damage, but every time he opens up, I get to smack him. And when he moves around, they just wrap around and hit him again. So I can just keep pumping that stuff out. He just kept rolling, which, for a fight like this, wasn't too difficult. Every time I was able to hit him when his shield was down or in the middle of attack, it dealt some decent damage to him. And then after I hit him a few times, he decided to give up, and here he is. I won against Patches. After the fight with Patches, I decided to go to the Merckwater catacombs. The Merckwater catacombs were a little bit more difficult than I thought they were going to be. With the imp gargoyles, they were quite more of an issue than I thought they were going to be. They were far more aggressive than I remembered. Even with using my shield, I could block a few of their hits, but it was still difficult to have the cast with the Wraith calling bell and deal damage to them because they were quite fast and they were also very close to the ground. With them being that close to the ground, the Wraith calling bell Prowling Wraiths kept crashing into the ground and not being able to track or at least follow them after they did anything that they were going to do. That was one of the weaknesses that I did discover in this build. But I continued forward so I could be able to grab my souls and unlock the Spirit Ash. After I unlocked the door I ran through so I can fight the boss. The boss of this was a grave-worn duelist. He was aggressive, yes, for sure. I did not have too much of an issue with him. His moveset was kinda predictable, and especially with the long wind-ups, you were able to know what he was going to do. You just had to constantly stay on the move. As you see here, I just kept moving, and after every hit he did, I was able to fire off a shot or two after to counter it. Some attacks were one Prowling Wraith, other ones were two Prowling Wraiths I was able to pump out. The main reason why I even went to this underground dungeon was not to get experience, but it was to get the Spirit Ash called Banished Knight Ingvel. Ingvel is a great Spirit Ash, but I did need him. I tried to fight Margaret multiple times, Margaret the Fell, multiple times. I think I fought him about 12 times at this point, trying to take him out with the Wraith calling bell only. But he was just far too aggressive, and I just literally cannot take him out. Because I could probably pump out one shot, probably every like 10 seconds, and on top of it too, was I at this point I did not have enough FP to deal enough damage to take him out. But I got the Spirit Ash, and I'm ready to roll, and I'm happy with what happened. At this point, I decided to grab the two medallion pieces that I needed so I can unlock the lift so I could go to Atlas Plateau. I grabbed them, and then I decided to head down here and open it up just so I could grab some more golden ruins and stuff I needed so I could level up my character. I hit the bonfire and then I run over to the lift, open up the lift, and then it brought me to the Atlas Plateau. And then after that, I was able to move around that area and do what I need to do. So now that the lift is open, and now that I have Atlas Plateau open, I'm able to go back there anytime I need to and grab what I need. At this point, I already unlocked the way to Atlas Plateau, and then I already have a decent Spirit Ash that I leveled up a little bit. As you can see there, he's already level 5. Now that I'm facing Margaret the Fell Omen, I fought him about 12 times before. Now I am using an Ash. I actually tried a good effort to take him out, but this guy was a bit too tough. Was a bit too aggressive. I could not deal enough damage at one time, and just how he just kept focusing on me, how he was able to cross the whole field and able to attack me. I could not get enough distance to smack him with my attacks and then be able to defend myself and everything I needed to do. So it was I could defend myself or I could attack. Those were really the only two options I really had. And with that dagger attack he has where he throws it, That always got me from a distance, and this battlefield wasn't the biggest battlefield there was. But since I had this spirit Ash of the Banished Knight, he was able to do quite a lot. Well, not damage wise, but more just grabbing his aggression, taking his eyes off of me. If you look at the damage that he's pumping out and that I'm pumping out, I am doing around the same amount of damage that my spirit is doing. But I'm able to pump out so much more hits than my spirit can do. So literally his whole purpose was to take Margaret's eyes off of me so I would be able to fight him and not die. Because I fought him 12 times before, and with this spirit, I was able to take him out with no issue. Here's the fight with the grafted scion that you can find in Stormville Castle. Yes, people know this thing as a little aggressive dude, but he's not terribly aggressive at range. When you get close, yes, he has lots of attacks, but he is actually quite slow covering the distance. Yeah, I did get smacked there. I had to go back. I tried to do a little bit of damage to him from the walls, but the fact was that I really couldn't. He just kept using that stuff as cover. And then once I got up a little bit closer, I realized he was not that difficult, and not as aggressive as I thought he was going to be. The biggest issue I had with him was his shield. Everything else was kind of like nothing, because I was able to jump back, get into this area where I was safer. I could recover, I didn't have to worry about him smacking me, so I had everything I needed to do. But the issue was just me thinking he was more aggressive than I thought he was going to be. And then when I realized, oh, he wasn't that aggressive, I can actually keep distance from him and pop out a Prowling Wraith every now and then able to deal some decent damage to him. And then with all that, I was able to take him out. He wasn't that much of an issue that I thought he was at first. My next challenge with this, after I finished Stormvale Castle, was Godric the Grafted. At first, I thought he was going to be difficult, but then I realized he wasn't that difficult. From a range, he doesn't do too much. His walking is super slow, it takes him quite some time to get to you. Everybody thinks he's super aggressive. Well, yes, he is super aggressive when you are next to him, when he is in melee range of you. But when you have a ranged weapon at this level, you could literally run to one end to another end without much of an issue. If you look, I'm just keep pumping out the Prowling Wraiths, and you see his wind attack, and his wind attack burns out before it even gets to me. And I just keep pumping out the spirits and dealing damage to him. So at this point, I fought him 2 times already. Actually, 1 time before. The only reason why I didn't beat him the first time I fought him was I ran out of FP. And since that was my way to deal damage, I could not deal damage to him, and he had 1/10 life left. And then I run to the other end and repeat the process again. After I dealt some decent damage to Godric, he went to his second phase of his fight, where he gets the dragon arm after he cuts off his arm. The first attack was really nothing. I just ran up the hill, didn't have to worry about it. And then with that fire attack that he keeps pumping out, I was actually very surprised I blocked that. I was actually quite happy. I was able to roll through it. But that one got me. I was not expecting it. And after that one, I ran out of healing potions. So with me running out of healing potions, I did have a few more of my mana potions left, so I could just keep pumping out the Prowling Wraith so I can take him out. As you see, I just keep pumping and pumping and pumping, and he keeps rolling. That was one of the issues I had in this whole fight, is he just kept rolling away from it. As you can see here, he'll roll and roll and roll and get behind cover and not take damage. But with the Prowling Wraith, some of them are great. They are great tracking. And that last one was able to hit him when he walked out of cover, and then I was able to take him out. And there, Godric the Grafted is gone, and I did not have to worry about anything else. I got the Great Ruin, and then I continued on with the match from this point forward and see if I can beat the game. With this, I was fighting the battle mage that you find over at Atlas Plateau area. The battle mage that you fight so you can get all the battle mage clothing and all the different items from him. This battle mage was not difficult at all, really. I had no issue with him. Because if you look at it, most of his spells did not have the range to get me. I was able to stay out of his range and all of his attacks, and then I could just keep pumping out Prowling Wraiths. And that's what I did, just kept pumping out Prowling Wraiths, and I was able to take him down. Most people have trouble with those mages just because they're super aggressive with their magic, they have explosion magic, and their poise just can't break. But with the Prowling Wraiths, I was able to take care of him like he was really no issue at all. And then I got his items and all that fun stuff that comes along. I'm fighting Loretta right now. I tried to fight her around 10 times before, over 10 times, and she was just too aggressive. I could not deal any of the damage that I wanted to do, and with her magic attacks and spam, it just kept me on my toes too much, and especially with the Prowling Wraith bell, it just took too long just so I can pump anything out. And then I just got tired, and I was not able to beat her. So I finally, after 10 fights, I summoned my Banished Knight, and then we were able to take out Loretta, and then I was able to move on to the Three Sisters and continue forth to Ronnie's quest. After conquering Carrion Manor, I was able to make it to Three Sisters and talk with Ronnie. I decided to join with Ronnie so I could complete her quest, so I would be able to get the Star Gazer talisman that gives me 5 plus to my intelligence that would help out my build. At this point, I leveled up my intelligence and my faith. So they're both over level 20 right now. I just wanted to see what it could do against these crystal warriors. The crystal warriors that you would have to knock their poise out so they could fall, so you could deal like actual damage to them. So after a few shots, I was able to actually knock his poise down, which I did, and the damage was actually piling up. It was dealing around 80 something damage a smack, or 50 something, but still, I was able to keep my distance, keep pumping out the Prowling Wraiths, and it didn't matter what direction I was at. As long as I had a lock on, I can just keep pumping out the Prowling Wraiths, and they would find him and destroy him. And I was actually surprised that they were that useful and efficient at even taking out something like that. This fight here, this was just a story fight. So, since I was summoning her anyways, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to summon the knight since I already have a summon out as it is, since it's a storyline fight. And I just wanted to get it done quicker, because this was just kind of a smaller enemy, a boss. But this boss was aggressive. I did try taking out the boss alone a few times, but she always got killed, and then the boss was just so aggressive, just kept following me and tried to take me down. I just really couldn't even pump out anything. So just with that said, is that I really didn't mind and really didn't care that I brought, since I already had one summon out, I'll just bring out the other Ash and just to see what would go down and how easy this guy would be. Yeah, she was dealing a lot of damage. My Ash was dealing some damage, and I could just constantly keep pumping out the Prowling Wraiths until the boss was taken out, and there he is. He's down, and that fight was a lot quicker With this
than I
fight,
thought.
this is the Deathbird down in Atlas Plateau in the capital city. I was not sure what damage that I could pump out. Then I started seeing I was dealing over 100 damage a single Prowling Wraith. I was actually kind of surprised. But with this fight, I probably fought him about like 4 times before, but each time I died, it was not due to him. It was due to all of the other elements and enemies around. He was not that difficult. He wasn't that hard to fight. And then right here, I use a ruin, and this ruin is able to knock up my damage a little bit. But then I was kind of just shocked that only made it go up higher by 7 points, and it's like, dude, with only 5 things, 7 points. Well, I guess any points is good at that moment. And just right now with this build, since how unique and weird it is. But I kept fighting him, and as you can see right here, he just kept going back and kept going back into the corner where I really couldn't deal too much damage to him. And I would just have to keep moving forward and fighting him and hitting him in the head, because look at his AI. His AI really isn't doing anything. It's probably tosses one or two attacks throughout the whole time, but overall, he is, yeah, he can't do anything. His AI does not understand that, hey, you need to get closer and you need to fight. And so he just keeps moving around in circles. But after a little bit of fighting here and there, I was able to get his life down. It took around 4 minutes to do this whole fight, but the 4 minutes wasn't difficult. Yeah, you see a few attacks, and I actually finally get hit by one. And then a few of the Prowling Wraiths that were around looped around and finished him off. And then finally, I made it to Radon. Radon was difficult. To tell you, Radon was the wall in this whole little experiment, this whole little challenge. Radon was the final wall that I just could not defeat. I did everything I could. I tried summoning non-stop. I tried running away, but it just seems no matter what I did, he just found some way to take me out. As you can see here, I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing some decent damage. I have all these little guys coming and helping me. I even tried fighting him one on one multiple times. Yes, I was able to bring him down to half life one on one, but then after that, his aggression level was just too high. I could not escape, especially when he kept using that gravity spells that he has. And that thing just kept yanking me off my horse, and he just went there, finished me off. At this point, I had about 30 points into my life, so I had 30 vigor, I had 30 intelligence, 30 faith, and I had some decent armor on too. And he was still able to kill me. I just could not fight him, win against him in this build. It was either he would kill me or he would be able to take out Torrent, and then I would run out of healing potions. And then by that time is I had no more healing potions, or I would have to use my last one on Torrent, and I was already in a difficult situation. Nothing worked out with this dude. I don't know what they did, because I remember his AI was easier. And I've even tried summoning, just kept summoning uh, the guys, the summons, the warriors that are there to help you fight him. I just kept pumping them out, multiple matches, but Radon just decided to say screw them, and he just focused on me. I remember there was a time that I had the whole crew out, everyone out. Radon didn't even pay attention to them. They could not catch up with him, and Radon just kept chasing me down, doing that attack, smacking Torrent, and then that right there. Those attacks were the ones that kept killing me, and the same as those other gravity ones. The ones with the multiple balls that shoot at you. Yeah, so Radon was my wall. I could not beat it. I was not able to pump out enough damage fast enough. And my character was already at level 60. And to tell you, I gave up after fighting him about 30 times. I tried to beat the game Now, with that said, and Radon was able to defeat me, I could not beat him no matter what I did. He was my wall. I still wanted to try to beat the game. I went to Lindell and tried to take out the Tree Sentinel using the Prowling Wraiths. But that Tree Sentinel was a draconic Tree Sentinel, and he had extra abilities that the other ones did not. At some point of the fight, he just kept pumping out one hit kills that nothing I could do. There was nothing I could say to avoid. I even tried leveling up my character to level 80, 20 more levels than what I had when I was fighting Radon, and I even brought out my Banished Knight Spirit to help me fight. I was able to raise up my Banished Knight Spirit up to level 9, and I also had some soldiers I leveled up to level 9 also, and tried to fight him. I was not able to beat that Draconic Tree Sentinel no matter what I did. So, I can clearly say right now, you cannot beat Elden Ring with Prowling Wraiths. So, with that said, thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe. Share this video, help this channel grow. And remember, most importantly of all, always love the Kellhound. You all take care now, guys.